Yeah, that's great. So thanks, George, again. Hello, everyone. I could see many friends and many fresh faces, yeah, in our roundtable now. And so I'm appreciated that I could have this chance to share my concept of the so-called social person in the background of the dual dimension of human dignity. So I wish my presentation could help us for discussing further concrete topics. For example, the topics about the minority people, environment, and poverty. Yeah. So firstly, I would like to have a very quick glance at the controversy about this absolute human dignity, that is too thick or too thin. So are we talking about, firstly, are we talking about the weak and strong normativity of human dignity? So, or how to give a justification, both secular and trans-religious, indigenous and trans culture for universal values such as human dignity. And a second question is, what is the relationship between the legal institutionalization and the moral correctness of human dignity? So only if we took a long positivistic standpoint can we do that. So the last question is about the relation and conflicts between individual and the social person. According to the German Constitutional Court, for example, there are at least a right to re-socialization and guarantee for minimum existence as examples for social person. So for the dignity of individual person, I would like to only mention 3 examples briefly. The first one is Mencius from ancient China, who already indicates the notion of dignity gifted from heaven or good honor of all men and all women, of course. A second example is a principle from Talmud, which says, great is human dignity as it overrides a prohibition in Torah. So that is an example indicated by my friend from Surrey, that is Kenneth Ehrenberg. A third example is from Immanuel Kant from Germany, who defines human dignity as autonomy of individual and the intrinsic value of all rational beings, including human beings. It is very interesting that he distinguishes between homo nominum and homo phenomenon. That is personality of human and the physical existence of human. Therefore, he emphasized the right of humanity in our own personality and correspondingly the juristic obligation to oneself. So all above concerns only the dignity of individual person. What about the dignity of social person? So here, for my development of the idea of social person, I would like to introduce a German philosopher, that is Gustav Radbruch. So I think he has indicated 2 valuable methodologic insights. Firstly, he drew a line of the periodization of legal development, that is the different periods of law, from patriarchal communal law to a liberal individualistic law, and finally to organized social law. That is his opinion before the Weimar Republic. So accordingly, there are 3 kinds of human images. If we think about human as the subjects of law, then we can have men in community to individual person, and finally to men in society, that is collective person. If we think about human as the producer of law, we can have unconscious spiritual people to conscious will of states, and finally to conscious will of people as the legislature of law. So that is the first insight. The second insight of Radbruch is that all human images above are only fictive constructions. Yeah, they are not empirical average human. Or using Max Weber's words, they are only ideal types of human. The main feature of the last image of man, that is the man in society, collective person, is a transition from the old, long, recognizable, isolated individuals into the concrete social person. That's my idea, where my idea of social person come from. So, but after 1932, that is in the late period of Weimar Republic, Radbruch has some kind of change of his opinion. That is, we can find here the three values, that is the individualism, supra-individualism, and transpersonalism are not in a Charliker timeline anymore, but in an anti-me relation without absolute preference. Actually, their importance depend now on current interest conflicts and balancing or democratic process. For example, in the individualism, according to this point of view, it is all the individual personality who organize themselves as a society. And meanwhile, the transpersonalistic culture of man could establish itself as a community. So now we can reconsider Radbruch's concept of social law or social person. That is, does it mean a totally new concept of person or only a modification of it? Firstly, I should say the social law is not in contradiction to the individualistic law anymore, while both are different to the supra-individualistic conservative standpoint. Secondly, I should say the work of individualized construction, besides other two works, that is interpretation and systematization, is still the core work of doctrinal legal science. Thirdly, the concept of person is still a fictive equal concept. That means equality is contained in both individual person and the social person as fictive, artificial legal concepts. So that is a reconsideration. Yeah. After that, it is still worthwhile to mention about Radbruch's formula. Yeah, that is a very famous formula after Radbruch's own name. Yeah, or it contains two sub-formula, that is intolerability formula and disavowal formula. And according to this formula, Radbruch initiate a criteria for some unjust, invalid law, that is human rights or humanity or human dignity. According to the German philosopher Robert Alexei, he initiates recently a transport theorem, which says that the disavowal to the individualistic human rights as the criteria of extreme injustice, which is no law at war. And I add to it, to this human rights concept, that is human dignity, which combines both individual and social dimensions. Yeah. So at last, I can mention about three cases in China. The first is Michael Jordan case, which is tried by our Supreme Court in 2016, which says that the dignity of human personality, according to our Constitution, functions as an evaluating criteria for interpreting the earlier right according to our trademark law, and concretize it into the economic interest of the right to personality. So this case indicates an individual dimension of the human dignity, according to my opinion. Yeah. Second case is the so-called ecologic civilization clause since the latest constitutional amendment in 2018. But we can remember that we already have a clause in our constitution that is the state ensures the rational use of natural resources and protects rare animals and plants. So according to my understanding, both clauses confirm the state's obligation to the natural resource, to the environment, and to rare animals. But it is not necessary to conclude an individual right to environment or individual right to animals or the right of animal by itself. So according to my opinion, this clause manifests a social dimension of human dignity. The last case is a little bit controversial. That is the case of discrimination to a female Helanese applicant. That is a person who comes from Henan province in China. So both the trial court in 2019 and the appellate court in 2020 in Zhejiang province find that the reason for long qualification, that means being Helanese, yeah, so simple word, is a violation of human dignity through the arbitrary discrimination, and due to that, unequally depriving of their social right to work. So according to my opinion, this case indicates the dual dimension of human dignity. So we are arriving at the conclusion. So how can we understand human dignity and with its dual dimension before and after coronavirus? So I think human dignity still deserves a strong normativity in the new normality of social distancing. And the key point is, it is with consideration of the dual dimension of individual and social person, for example, right to life and health based on human dignity during the pandemic, both of national and international concern. Here, I want to mention about the debate, the conversation between Habermas and his student Günther from Frankfurt, and a paper, very fresh paper from Jinsu Wang in Beijing. Yeah. So employing Radbruch's term, the individual dimension of human dignity is intrinsic without doubt, and the social dimension is not in contradiction with it, while both are contrary to the supra-individualistic understanding of human personality. That's my presentation. Thanks.